Hi, I'm Daisy, aka DIY Daisy, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a DIY beaded macrame halter top, and if you stick around all the way till the end, I'll show you how you can use the same method to make a wrap skirt. For this project, you will need some 4mm braided paracord, a measuring tape, some macrame beads, about 70 or 80, some scissors, and a lighter. The first thing we're going to do is take some measurements. So for the halter cord, which is the part you tie around your neck, take your neck's circumference and times that by 3. And for the body cords, take the measurement from your shoulder or your collarbone and measure down to your desired length and times that by 3. But I'll always say it's okay to go a little bit longer than you think so that you can trim it up later. Now, there are 2 knots that we're going to use in this tutorial, and I'm just going to show you how to do it first. The first one is the lark's head knot. So you're going to take one of your body cords, fold it in half, put the loop behind the neck cord, and then take the tails and go through the loop. And I'm going to show you how to do that one more time. You might have even used this knot before in your everyday life, but this is actually one of the most commonly used knots in macrame or macrame. So here's the lark's head knot again. So we've got that little loop and we're putting the tails through the loop and then we're pulling the cords down. And so now the cords are attached. The second knot that we're going to use is called a reef knot or a square knot. And this is another classic macrame knot, a really basic one. And I like to remember left over right and right over left. And I like to create like a number 4. So going left over right, and then I'm going to reverse that and do like a backwards 4. And so here's my right over left. And look, I got a little confused trying to video this, but I've done it twice. So I'm going to show it to you one more time, and definitely practice this before you get into making the real thing with some leftover cords. And let's look at that. Let's do a playback. Let's look at that one more time. So we're going left over right, and then we're going right over left. And eventually you'll get the hang of this and you'll just fly through making all of these knots. And there are lots of knots that you can use, but this is just the knot that I've decided to use for this project, but you can try any macrame knot that you like. So the first step that we're going to do is lay out all of our pieces on a table. I like to work over a table, but you can find out what's comfortable for you. I'll lay the halter cord across the table horizontal, and I've weighed down one end with some books. I've left the other end free because I'm going to thread beads onto it. So all I'm doing here is taking one by one my body cords, folding them in half and attaching them to the halter cord, the part that goes around your neck, using a lark's head knot. Then I'm threading on a bead, and then I'm just repeating that until I have all 8 cords attached to the halter cord. So you don't have to add beads onto the neck. You can leave that without, but I just like the look of the halter top when it has the beads all over it. And you can do different size beads, big beads, small beads. You don't even have to use all the same beads, but macrame beads are the ones you want because they have big holes. So I'm using 4mm paracord. So you just want to make sure that the holes of the beads have a bigger hole than a 4. So I'm attaching all of those onto the cord, onto the neck cord, using a lark's head knot. I think that knot is also called a cow hitch knot. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, and so we're getting all the way through, and by the end of it, you should have 16 cords hanging down. And once all of the cords are attached, I like to just straighten everything out, smooth everything out, and then make sure that my work area is ready to go. And I'm going to weigh down the other end of that cord now because I'm ready to start my macrame. So I'm going to tidy everything up, and then I'm going to move everything over to the right. And then if we count from the left, we should have 16 cords. I'm going to take cord 2 and 3, and I'm going to thread on my first bead onto cord number 2, and then I'm going to make my first reef knot. And you can change how long you do your reef knots down each length, but I am going for 5 centimeters, and you'll see me remeasure this just a couple of times to make sure that I'm on the right track, because you don't want your knots to all be at different heights, or maybe you do want all of your knots to be at different heights. But in this case, I'm going for 5 centimeters. You can experiment with shorter or longer and make it your own. So now that we've done knots, or we've done a knot on cord 2 and 3, we're going to take cord 4 and 5, and we're basically just going to do this all the way along. And I like to use the first knot that I did as a guide to make sure that all the other knots are the same. But here I am measuring because, like the saying goes, measure twice, cut once. We just want to make sure it is even. So here I am doing another reef knot, and I hope you like this commentary. I'm just doing this like one and done, or I'm hoping that it's going to be a one and done voiceover with as many or as little chops and edits as possible. So there is a little bit of fiddling, and I have cut out a little bit of the fiddling so that you don't have to watch this for the whole time that it took me. But as I'm going along, I'll just adjust and sort of jiggle and rejiggle and readjust the knots to make sure that they are the right height. And I think after this one, I put it on, I speed it up. And we're going to go on fast forward because I think you can sort of see what's happening now after this. Maybe it's after this knot. Ready and go. No. Ready and go. No? Okay, see, this is fiddling. This is what I said. There is a little bit of fiddling involved in this one. You're going to have to readjust those knots, make sure that you're happy with them. And here we go. There we go. We're on fast forward. So you're just going to continue this all the way along. Okay, yay. We've made it to the end of the first row. And now I'm just going to pull everything down, check my knots, make sure they're all looking pretty even. And now it's time for the next row down. So I'm going to thread a bead onto the first cord, and I'm going to leave the second cord beadless, and I'm going to tie a reef knot 5 centimeters down from that knot above. And you can do beads on all of the cords, or you can do beads on just a couple of the cords. It's really up to you depending on how many beads you have. My beads are from the op shop, so I only have a limited number. I think I have like 80, and I think I almost used all of them. But you can do as many or as little beads as you want. You could just do a couple. It could be cute just to do a couple. So we're going to continue along the row now, doing the same thing, taking one cord from the left, one cord from the right, and doing our reef knots. And you can see, again, I'm using that first knot as my guide. And then as I work my way along, I don't really need to measure anymore, but I will adjust as I go and just like pull the sides down, squish everything together, check where the knots are laying. And if they look like they're pretty even, then I'm happy with that. So I think you've got the hang of it now, and all you have to do is continue tying your knots along each row and then moving down and starting a new row. I think I did maybe 8 or 9 rows, and that is long enough to cover from my collarbone down to about my belly button. I'm a size Australian 12 to 14 for reference, so this is definitely dependent on your body and your proportions. It will look different on everyone. So just make adjustments to the lengths of your cord so that it suits you and what you're going for. And I will just reiterate, cut your cords longer than you think at the start because you can always trim them at the end. So I cut my cords 2.5 meters long, and I think I trimmed off like 10 centimeters to make them all even at the end, which I'll show you later. But if you are worried about the lengths not being long enough for you, go longer and use your own body measurements. I'm just sharing what I've done so you can get a rough guide. The same thing goes for making it fit your body. So all you need to do to make it a little bit bigger is add on more body cords hanging down from the halter cord in multiples of 2. So for example, if you wanted to make it like one size bigger, you could add on 2 extra cords. So instead of 8, you would cut 10 body cords, and then that would give you 20 body cords hanging down. Okay, we are finished. So now again, I'm just checking to make sure all of my knots are even, and then I've turned it on the side. I'm just going to give the cords a trim. I'm not trimming the outside 2 cords. So cord number 1 and cord number 16, I'm going to leave those long because they're the cords I'm going to use to tie around my back. And once I've trimmed all of my cords and I'm happy with them, I'm just melting the ends using a lighter. And here is what it looks like when I try it on. I like to do it kind of loose-ish around the neck, not up too high, and it sort of sits on my collarbones. And then I like to wear this over a boxy tee. I think it looks really cool. And I told you at the start I was going to show you how to make a beaded macrame wrap skirt, and guess what? You already know how to because it's the exact same method. All you need to do is add a few more body cords for a bit more coverage and make your halter cord a little bit longer. And there you have it. That is how to make a beaded macrame halter top and wrap skirt. And if you beat it yourself, tag me at _DIY Daisy so I can see your creation.